If you've already started your forum activity, remember the deadline is next week. I believe Tuesday is the deadline. I'll show you guys in a bit. So I hope you've already practiced your modals. And today, after we complete the review of present perfect continuous with since and or, you should be able to use the structure very, very well. All right, now let's start the same way we did last class. Remember, guys, that we're taking things just as they are in your calendar. So now that we're in January, this is the second class of Unit 1. Your activity for evaluation is Forum 1. And then next week, we'll start Unit 2. And remember, after Unit 2 is finished, we'll have an evaluatory activity for both Unit 1 and 2. Okay, right? I think this is us. Remember, guys, as you enter the room, the first thing you want to do is put your full name and group in the chat so we can take attendance. Just double checking my audio to make sure that you guys can hear me. I'll also double check my microphone to make sure it is turned up properly. And let's begin. All right, so when we use the present perfect, we're generally talking about experiences. And when this experience has some sort of range or period, then we will use the present perfect continuous to show this progression, right? Now, of course, if we're going to be showing progression, we're going to be using the verb to be plus ing. But I did say this is present perfect. So we're also going to be using the verb have or has, depending on the subject line, to show what we're expressing. All right? So what we'll do in this lesson is we'll take advantage of some of the tools we've used before, and we'll add some new things to it. All right? So let's start off here. Structurally and use-wise, when do we choose the present perfect continuous? All right, I'll also make use of a nice little games that we can play. It's about 7 of you, so this should be a good fun game. I'll probably do 7 separate teams so everyone can get their own moniker, and some practice afterwards, as well as a video that I'll share in our WhatsApp group and some more practice that you can use to make sure you feel super comfortable. If you haven't done so yet, remember full name and group in the chat. All right, so let's start here. When do I use the present perfect continuous? Now, as you can tell, present perfect continuous, just like present perfect, is used when we're talking about actions from the past that connect to our present. Now, the continuous form is telling us it is still happening, that it's still true and happening and important in our present. So just like with the present perfect simple, we need to know who is doing the action, so we can choose our helping verb have or has. And since it's an ing, it's a continuous form, we will use our verb to be in participle form. So I have been, you have been, we have been, they have been, he has been, she has been, and it has been, and our verbs in ing. Right? So of course, for affirmative form or normal sentences, we would use subject line plus our auxiliaries and our ing form. Negative form, we're making have negative. All right, and question form, we start with have, unless we have a question word. All right, now, based on this structure, when would we be using this particular form? Mario, help us here. When do we use the present perfect continuous?
Uh, use We use the present perfect continuous when we want to express the sense of continuity of an action that began in the past and which continues into the present or which has just finished.
Mm,
We use it to refer to something that we have been doing over a period of time, and therefore we use the prepositions of time for and since. Since.
since.
Since. If we use the present perfect continuous without a time reference, it means already or
Lately.
lately or recently. Examples. I can't believe it is still raining. It's been raining for a week now. John has been working at the bank since uh,
2003.
2003. We have been planning on vacation for over a month. Amanda and Tom have been dating since the last June.
Okay, be
He
careful there. Dating, saliendo, dating.
dating. Amanda and Tom have been dating since last June.
Again, since you're struggling there, since.
Since last,
Mhm.
he hasn't been studying enough. Enough. Have
Enough. That UGH sounds like an F. Enough.
enough. Have you been feeling ok lately?
Okay, lately.
I have been working too much.
All right, go back to the one previous. Have you been
Okay.
feeling okay lately?
Have you been feeling okay lately?
Good. All right. Now remember, there are verbs in the language that we don't use the continuous form for. So you don't use verbs like or love in the same way that you use talk, right? Now we practice those stative verbs, emotive verbs, communicative verbs, verbs that talk about possession, generally abstract ideas do not have a continuous form. They are usually factual or in the moment, right? So those verbs, you won't be doing it in a factual way. Now, in addition to that main use, let's look at the general structure, guys. So in a positive form or an affirmative form, these are some sentences that you will have. Right? We use it generally to express the continuity of something from the past that you have started and you have continued. All right, so these are some examples. All right, notice the difference with the subject line. Remember, if you are making negative sentences, what you are making negative is the have portion. So haven't or hasn't. In question forms, you can start with your have or has, or you can also use question words. All right, and we'll also do some examples from here. But let's focus first of all on since and for. Before I go any further, let me go back over here. And in this one, you'll see some good examples when I share it with you later. But when it comes to since and for, guys, since tells us the beginning, the first point. So when you see since, you're thinking about the start date. Now you must be saying, but present perfect doesn't have specific time. You're correct. Notice it doesn't say June 1. All right. And even if it does, it's not talking about that day only. It's telling you that June 1 was the beginning. All right. So when you see since, starting point. When you see for, range. So for 10 days, for a year, for a semester at school. This is for range. This is for starting point. Now here, there's not a lesson specifically in the continuous form for it, but if you look further down, there is one that tackles for and since specifically. So if you want to dive in a little bit deeper, you can. All right, for and since are pretty useful. Let's see how time goes, and I might tackle them later on. All right, but first thing, let's jump into some exercises. All right, let me expand my screen. Thank you guys. I think everyone has put their names and groups in the chat now. Let me just double check. And I hope everyone's microphones are working. Well, let's get into practice mode. All right, now, as usual, if you want, you'll see a song at the bottom if you like listening to music related to the concepts we're practicing. All right, let's start off with some fill in the blanks. What you need to do is transform what you have as your example or your sample verb and then put it in the right structure. So if I have I as the subject, I goes with have been. And then you transform your verb into its ing form. Remember, this is present perfect continuous. All right, so let's go to Saul. I believe, Saul, you were the second one in.
Sería, have you been praying?
Perfect. All right, what have you been playing guitar much recently? Again? Full sentence, so.
Okay, have you been playing guitar much recently?
And be careful with the playing. Okay. All right, let's go to Alondra, number 2, negative form.
Sería Steve have
Steve
no,
is a guy. What do we do?
sería
What do,
have
what do we use for singular other people? We use has. Remember.
has Steve has been practice
Practicing. You're using a continuous form, Alondra.
okay.
All right, again.
Steve has been practicing and now they
All right, and I hope you haven't been driving and speaking to me at the same time. Alma Rosa, so that's Nicholas, number
Sí.
3.
What? Ay, no veo. What have they been doing lately?
Lately.
Lately.
Good job. All right, Gustavo.
I have been liking seafood since I
No,
first tried it. No.
no, because like is one of those verbs that you do not conjugate. Remember, we have a lot of verbs in English that tell us a few things, all right? And you should go back and double check it. Senses, like I feel and I taste, that's always true. So you do not need to show progression, all right? Emotions are usually true. It's how you feel, hence you don't need to express it in a continuous form. Same thing for abstract ideas or states, all right? If you talk about how much you care for someone, or if you talk about what's inside a box, what it contains, that's true. You don't need to express it in continuous form. All right, same is true for things that belong to you. It is yours. You don't need to show that it is being yours. It is yours. All right. When you're talking, when you're communicating something, when you are surprised or when you agree, in English, you do not need to show that you're progressing with your agreement. You agree or you don't agree. All right. Same thing is true for when you are making involuntary actions. Now, if you choose to do something, then you can show progression. All right. So for up here, you'll notice that in the senses, I believe it talks about voluntary versus involuntary. All right. If it's involuntary, then you don't have control. It is what it is. But if you're choosing to do things, you might see some change. All right. So be very careful with verbs like. All right. Because it's just true. It is what you like or dislike. It's your emotions. So therefore, I like seafood. I have liked seafood.
Okay.
Again.
I have liked seafood since I first tried it.
Good. All right. Still true. Was true in the past, still true now. All right. Rafa, number 5.
Sería, what have you been learning in English class these days?
A lot. I hope
Yes.
I've been learning a lot. All right, good. And Paula, number 6.
Yes, sorry, I'm late. Have you been waiting long?
Perfect. All right, Fernanda, number 7.
The kids have been watching television since 3 o'clock.
Since.
Since.
Mhm. All right, let's continue with Sophie. Sophie, unscramble the sentences with me.
We
Good. But
we
always
have
start with the question word or the helping verb. What's the question word here? How long?
how long?
Then your helping verb.
Have
All right, have, and then who?
you living here?
Been living here. All right. All at once.
How long have you been living here?
Good. All right, let's continue with Leslie, number 2.
They have been watching TV too much lately.
They have. They must be bored because there's a lot of work to do. All right. Isabel.
Why have you been wearing my jacket?
Yes, why have you been wearing my jacket? Truth be told, Isabel, I like your jacket. Your jacket is better than mine, so I have been using it. All right, good. Enrique, number 4.
Yes. I have been working since
Since.
7 since
Again,
7
since. One more time.
since
Since.
yeah. I have been working since 7 a.m.
All right, and Zaud.
It has
Mhm.
it has been raining s- straight
All right, talk about your range. So for how many days straight? Straight is telling me that it hasn't stopped continuously.
for 3 days straight.
Exactly. Again, it has been raining.
Yes, it has been raining for 3 days straight.
Good. All right, and to drop in the others, let's go back to Mario.
Okay. Um, he he hasn't uh, he hasn't been studying enough these days.
Right, that UGH in enough sounds like an F. Enough
Okay,
these
enough.
days. One more time.
He hasn't been studying enough these days.
Good. All right, and the last two, Saul, want to give it a try?
Me?
Yes. No, Saul.
Yo,
Mhm.
sería, you have been eating too much.
Mhm. And Alondra. I hope you haven't been driving.
We have been
Mhm.
learning
Mhm.
two verbs for weeks.
Imagine verbs for 2 weeks or two verbs for weeks. Which one?
Verbs
Okay.
for 2 weeks.
Good. Right. So for tells you a range, and since tells you a very specific start point. All right. So as you go through, I recommend, giving this a look as well. When we think about for, we're thinking about a period of time. And when we make use of since, we're looking at the start point. Right? So these two are super important. Now, let's play a game, guys. Instead of having teams, we're now at 13 people. So you get an opportunity to choose. And it's also a good time for us to review some of the things you already know. So do you understand when to use simple past versus the present continuous? Do you understand what's the difference between the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous? Do you understand how to make questions? How do you ask the right question with the right words? Do you know the past participles of certain verbs? And can you spot what's wrong with a sentence? If you write something wrong, or if there's something wrong when you're reading, can you identify these errors? All right, super important. Now, since Zaud was willing to jump in, Zaud, why don't you start us off this time? Pick a category and an amount. Don't be shy, Mr. Lopez. Are you still with us, Zaud?
I can understand. Sorry.
Choose a category and choose an amount.
Okay. Make the question.
Make a question for how much?
400.
All right. Here are your words. Make a question.
Oh, how long uh, is she?
How long has
Oh yes, how long has she been work for this company?
working? Continuous form.
Uh, how long has she been working for this company?
All right. Hope you guys have gotten the idea now. All right. Let's go to Alondra just did, so Gustavo.
Make a question 100.
All right, making a question for 100. Go ahead.
How many times
Hint, the subject is I.
how many times I told you?
Have I told you? Or how many times were you told is a possible answer, but we're practicing what? Practicing present, perfect, continuous. How many times have you been told? Why? Communication. So you can use I as your subject. Practice with me, Gustavo.
How many times have I told you?
Good. Now remember, for verbs of communication, we won't be using the continuous form. All right, so that's one that you need to remember as well. Verbs of communication. It's either you say it or you didn't say it. You expressed it or you didn't express it. These verbs generally don't need a continuous form. All right? Good. Let's continue with Rafa.
Present continuous
Present continuous.
and 500.
Present perfect or present continuous. Okay, 500. All right, this is a present continuous. Present continuous, notice.
Okay,
Present perfect
sería
continuous.
have you
Mhm,
been
mhm.
partying
Yeah, it's a verb.
a lot recently?
Yes, indeed. Have you been partying a lot recently? Good. All right. Paula, you're next.
Find the mistake 300.
Find the mistake for 300. Oh, no, sorry. Find the mistake. What's
Okay.
wrong?
Um, um, mm, the verb do.
Right.
Mm,
You can't have it as continuous if it's all in the past. Right? If they
mm,
finished in the past, it can no longer be progressive. Progressive means it's continuing. All right? Read for me.
okay. You have done great work on all your past albums.
Good. Or past projects as well is also good. All right? Good. All right. After Paula is Fernanda.
Present continuous 200.
All right. Present perfect simple.
Hmm, Since to
Since the year 2000, yes.
since 2000, the popularity of Apple phones
Mm-hmm.
uh, have been grew.
Right? How do we change this one? Have grown. When have been growing generally is acceptable, but when we talk about our ranges, we can choose if we're talking about the range or the continuity, right? And since they told us to go present perfect simple, has grown. The popularity has grown. Repeat. Since 2000.
Since 2000, the popularity of Apple phones has grown tremendously.
Good. All right. And tremendous means a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Right? Now, after Fernanda, it's Sophia.
May I question 300?
Good. All right. Here are your words. Make a question.
How long have you been making music?
Indeed. Good job. And after Sophia, it's Alma.
Presented, no, make a question, 2000.
2000? Where is 2000?
No, 2000.
200.
200, sí, cierto.
All right. Go ahead. Make a question.
Okay, she
Has
hasn't,
she
sí, has she been hung up,
hanging up? It's continuous.
hanging up al de, no,
It's tricky. All right. So this verb is telling you something. All right. Now, what is it telling you? It's showing you that she's doing an action. So imagine this is your phone and it has a hook. You're positioning it in a place. You can't positioning it over and over and over. Not if you have this word, yet. All right. Yet is asking you if it was or not performed. So no continuity here. Has she hung up all the photos yet? Right? Has that action been completed? Not that it is continuing. All right, so it was a trick question. Practice with me. Has she hung up all the pictures yet?
has she hung up al de picture check?
Good. All right. After words, it's Leslie's turn. Leslie.
Make a question in 5,000.
500, just 2 zeros.
100.
We have tens, hundred, and then thousands. This is still hundreds. All right, make a question.
Where have you been? Have you playing tennis?
Have you been playing? All right, the question is asking you about your past, not about what you're doing now. All right, so wherever you were in the past, were you playing tennis in that place? All right, so be careful. Practice with me. Where have you been?
Where have you been? Were you playing tennis?
Good. All right, so In the past, since the person didn't see you, they're like, what are you up to? Give me the gossip. Isabel.
Find mistake.
Okay.
200.
All right. What's the mistake?
I. Beyonce.
Beyonce, yeah, you know her. She sings songs and dances and makes cool videos. Again? Yeah.
Hasn't. Okay. Okay. ¿Lo leo?
What is happening here? Something was completed, not continuing. So we don't need the ing form. All right, go ahead. Beyonce has created another CD.
Entonces.
Read for us.
Beyonce has been creating another CD. Beyonce has created another CD.
Right, and created just means made, you know, she produced or she released another CD. Obviously, we don't listen to CDs anymore. Right, and last, Enrique.
Present continuous or 100?
All right, present perfect, simple.
How long? Have
All right, imagine you are the person.
Have you
been?
how long have you been doctor?
No, that's an error. Doctor. Good. All right. I feel like we left out some people.
How long
You have a
have
question?
you been a doctor?
How long have you been a doctor? Good. All right. So, I feel like, let's see who hasn't tried. I feel like Mario and Saul hasn't tried. And Alondra neither. Go ahead, Mario.
Present perfect or present continuous 300.
Okay, present perfect continuous.
I'm learning Spanish, but I have not been learning it long.
That's right. Saul?
Present perfect or present continuous too.
Okay, the last one for 400.
Did you know Sofia is an actor? She has been appearing in several films.
Yes. All right, but it asked you for present perfect simple. Yes, I like your answer better, but present perfect simple would be she has appeared in several films in the past. Okay, repeat.
Yes. Did you know Sofia is an actor? She has appeared in several films.
Sofia Vergara, supposedly. And Alondra, I think you did not do one. Go ahead, Alondra.
Is past participle 100.
All right, good one. What's the past participle of tell?
Si no mal recuerdo, es told.
You did not, Miss. You did well. You did remember. All right. So guys, that's it. Make sure you practice for and since. Make sure you practice your present perfect continuous and complete your forum. Your deadline for completing this unit and its activities is next Tuesday, the 23rd. All right. If you have questions or if you need any help, you know how to reach me. All the best on your weekend and see you soon.